Hello everyone and welcome back to Inspiring Movements, the Jim's Gym podcast helping people to take positive steps to move more, feel better and live well as we age. Today's guest is 82 years old, a retired prison chaplain, and he recently lifted 200 kilograms to raise money for his local church. Vernon Lidstone is proof that it is never ever too late to start. And without further ado, let's get into it. Brilliant to have you on today, Vernon. Before we get into your recent achievements, I think we should start with perhaps a little bit of introduction, a little bit about your background, and sort of we'll work back into where you got to today.
I'm a retired prison chaplain and retired quite a few years ago. And after that, started by reordering St. Peter's Church in Framilode. And we got into fitness because we were looking for things to have in the church which were more community-based. And so I heard of Patrick Ansley on Third Age. He was talking on Radio Gloucester about how important it is for older people to get strong, not just fit, but get strong. And I thought, that's really good. Anyway, I went out and took part in some of his classes in Chaplain, and then persuaded him, poor man, to come and run the class in our church. And he came on a Monday, then came on a Thursday, and he's been coming every Monday and Thursday for 12 years.
Lovely. And how many, so how many people have you got coming to those classes?
Well, you've got room for about between 15, maybe 20. It's a bit crowded then. It's a lovely open space, but you do have to be spaced out.
And you're filling all the spaces though? You're getting that?
15, very regular, yeah.
Fantastic. You mentioned about, and I'm interested, being a prison chaplain. It's quite an interesting place to be a chaplain. How did that sort of sculpt your career?
Well, the story behind that's a little bit long, but what happened was my first wife and I had moved to Gloucester, and she became very ill and sadly died quite quickly.
I'm sorry.
And the problem I had then was that I was a diocesan officer doing parish resources. People were so kind, and I just couldn't have people being kind to me all the time. It just was not practical, because every time I would get upset and they would be kind. And so somebody said to me, well, there's a vacancy at Lay Hill. Why don't you apply for that and be a prison chaplain? Because they knew that in years past I'd done lots of part-time prison chaplaincy. So I applied for it, and a year later, grinding through the process, I got it.
Wow. Okay. So a very tragic instance led you to what kind of interesting space. So how long were you there for in the prison?
I was there for 6 years full time.
Okay. And transforming people's lives? I mean, is it?
Well, I would like to try.
Yeah.
But there's a lot you can do to help people. That's for sure. And it's not all faith-based, but there's a lot of people in prison have bereavement which they can't really explore, because in prison you can't be seen to cry or to be upset. You have to be manly. And so coming to the chaplains and talking to us about it was really pretty helpful for them.
Yeah, and I think it's an amazing job to be doing. Really interesting. Okay. Going back to the fitness part of things, you hadn't really done a lot of exercise.
I began fitness at 70, and it is never too late. And I do want to keep saying it's never too late to people, because it really isn't. I started, as I say, fitness at 70. And then 18 months ago, I thought it'd be nice to have some sort of target, something to measure this fitness by. And I discovered powerlifting and joined Gloucester Powerlifters in the centre of Gloucester, and gone on ever since doing that. I do both classes.
Tell me the difference between the classes you do then. So
So the classes in the church have now become pretty tough, and we are getting stronger and stronger.
Where do you go from there, right?
Yeah. Well, you go to powerlifting. So I go off to powerlifting on a Friday night, and that's great too, because the powerlifting club, they're all much younger than me, and they're all very encouraging. And that's a bit of encouragement goes a long way. It's great.
I like the idea of going to Framilode on a dark night and finding a lot of people really stacked.
So they are. They are. They're amazing.
Good. So have you been surprised at how much benefit you've gained from, starting these classes initially in the church?
Yes, absolutely. It's really nice to be strong. It's good. The statistics for people falling over and hurting themselves in the health service run to thousands. And people are constantly breaking hips and so on. So by being strong, hopefully you don't fall over in the first place. But if you do, you know what to do. Last week we had a class particularly centered on falling down. So we were tripping over, we were rolling over, we were doing all these things. To my surprise, one of our bunch actually did a somersault in the middle of it. Not bad, at well over 65, I think she. And so, it's really useful.
We're going to hang on that for a minute, because it's a really, from the research I've done around fall prevention, it's actually, the falling part is the trickiest, or the bit that can really save you. So actually, if people have an experience, or a lot of people have an experience of, say, martial arts or something like that, they tend to be much better at falling than people that don't.
Yeah.
And actually being put into a scenario now where, if you have these mats, are they thick mats? Are they?
They were actually, yes. But they were brought in especially for that evening. They were good. But I was telling you the other day that I was walking in the woods and I tripped over a stump and I went absolutely headlong.
Is this recent?
This was week before last.
Oh, right.
Okay. And it was muddy because there's been a bit of rain. I went absolutely headlong. But the interesting thing was that as I fell, I thought, now you have to put your hands out, save yourself, and remember what you practiced, all in that split second of going headlong. Yes, yeah. Anyway, there I was, flat in the mud. Cassie, my spaniel, came alongside, sniffed and said, what are you doing down there? But the great thing was, although I was covered in mud, I could jump up and we could go straight on. And I didn't feel worried that I might have bust something, whereas I guess even years ago, when you're older, you don't fancy falling over.
No, you don't. And I think at the moment, and without sort of going too much into what you're doing at the moment, you're putting yourself in, going to the powerlifting, going to the classes, you're putting yourself into a different situation, and you are giving yourself an idea of what it is you're capable of. And a lot of people perhaps don't do that all that often. So when they do fall, it is a massive confidence knock, especially if you do hurt yourself. Yeah. But having that thing in the background, your exercise classes showing you that you can do all this stuff, that actually a fall is not, depending on how you fall or what you fall on,
sure,
isn't actually, you can brush yourself off, and that's a real positive.
And the other thing that's positive is if you're strong, if somebody else falls over, you can at least help them up. You don't have to ring the medics.
Absolutely.
The paramedics.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll go into the powerlifting. My first question is that first step that you took in the gym. How did you feel at that moment? Because I have to be honest with you, I would feel quite intimidated if I was put in that space.
Going into the powerlifting gym.
Yeah.
Well, they're quite gentle in the way they introduce you to it. And I had watched a few YouTube things to see what you have to do. Because as you know, you've got the three things to do. You've got your squat, you've got your bench press, and you've got your deadlift. So
those are the three exercises that you are continuously working on.
Yeah.
To then into a competition, you would
absolutely
tie those three together to get a maximum weight.
Yeah. And you start quite gently and build up.
Okay. And of the but, you know, again, community. Yeah, I think there's a broad spectrum of ages.
Certainly in Gloucester Powerlifting, they're all amazingly young, and I suppose I'm old, but they're very kind, and it's something that a lot more people can do. And I do notice that as you look down the competition schedules, there isn't too much competition at my age.
Perfect.
But it's good if you want to win a competition, that's for sure.
It's nice to be winning. I used to do a little anecdote. I used to do fencing at school, and quite often there were only two of us in our age group, and so I always put silver. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. And the other guy was actually really good, and I wouldn't have ever repeated it anyway. So right, so. Going into the gym space, and actually, we haven't said your age now, if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm 82. I'll be 83 in August.
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Okay, so it really is never, ever, 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 ever too late.
I think that's the slogan, really.
It's
never too late. Never too late to start fitness. Never too late to get stronger. And because I'm a Christian, I say, and so does the whole of the faith say, it's never too late to turn to Jesus. And equally, it's never too late to donate to a good cause.
Well, we're going to save that for the end, okay? But we will come back to it. Look, so I still just into the nitty-gritty of the exercises. We've got the deadlift, which is sort of picking something up off the floor.
Yes.
We've got the bench press, which is lying on your back and pressing up.
Yeah.
And then we've got the squat. Okay, which is pretty functional movement in itself.
It's a functional movement, but it's of the three, I dislike it most.
Yeah.
Because you've got a bar on your back, and it's quite easy to get that wrong. You have to squat very low.
Are you allowed a pad on the bar?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Would that be frowned upon within the...
You're not allowed to go.
You're not allowed. Okay.
It's a straight steel bar, and you have to get the positioning right. After a while, it all sort of settles down and you get used to it. But it is the least enjoyable of the lot. And then you have to learn to squat, and squat really low, because in the competition, your knee must be higher than your hip as you squat.
Right. Okay. And you get, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 attempts.
You get 3 attempts.
Yeah. Okay. At each lift.
Yeah. And you've got 3 judges, 1 in the front, 1 each side, and they're all looking at you very carefully. And in that last competition I did, on the very first squat, I squatted, I thought, fine. And we did it, and it was fine. But the judge very kindly got out of her seat, walked up to me and said, we let you have that one, but you've got to do better next time.
Good. Just to plant that seed that it wasn't quite what they were looking for. But anyway, and actually, when I watched the video, and whilst I say this, and I was thinking about this a moment ago, I'm always on camera in front of a group of people. But I actually felt like watching you on video, you were in a room of people. Looked like there seemed to be sort of 30, 40, maybe even more.
Oh, there were more. Yeah.
That in itself feels really nerve-wracking.
Well, it's wonderful, actually. They're all cheering and clapping and saying, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And it does make a difference. It really does.
Yeah, I can imagine it does. Absolutely. I mean, everyone wants to see, it's wholesome, isn't it? Everyone wants to see everyone succeed.
I think that's the thing about powerlifting. Powerlifting is a really nice sport because everybody encourages everybody else. And you're not, of course you are competing against other people, but really you're competing against yourself.
Yeah. Okay. And then again, so that's really nice.
It is. It's really nice.
And going into the challenge then, so you started. So when did you start the powerlifting exactly?
I started powerlifting about 12, 13 months ago.
Okay. All right. And then the challenge.
And then I did a competition after a few months. That was all right.
What was that lift, can I ask?
That was 182 total.
Okay. Yeah.
For the 3.
Pretty good going.
Yeah.
Early on.
But of course, the challenge came about because one Sunday I walked into the church vestry and I was squelching on the floor. The carpet was sodden. The boiler had died. And I thought, wow, we've got a big problem here. The engineer came the next day and said, sorry, can't be repaired. And I thought, well, we've got between now and October to raise the funds, get the permission from the diocese, and get it all done. Otherwise, we're going to have a bit of an empty church because it'll be very cold. So that's what I thought I'd contrive this way of raising funds, doing my next competition, which happened to be coming along just nicely in the right time.
Okay. And where are you at with the fundraising now then?
The fundraising now is we've raised, from the competition, we've raised £5,000.
Congratulations.
And I'm really pleased with that, but it's still going on.
Yeah.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's quite exciting.
Okay. And so the challenge then was to lift the 200 kilograms, which obviously you completed. I've got a sneaky suspicion you're going to be going for another.
I don't think I'll do fundraising again, but I should certainly like to do a little better. I think I can do, probably 220, something like that. What have I said?
Yeah, but I was looking back at one of the questions I missed, and I was going to ask you: was there any part of it that you sort of doubted that you might not make the 200, but you've obviously done that now. So what about the 220? I mean, what
challenge will be the squats?
The squats.
They're hard. So I think I'll be able to increase the deadlift, and we have to hope for the best on the bench press.
Okay, so the squats. So it was 50 kilograms before.
Yeah, 45 it was.
45. Okay, so then you'll have to up that to.
Well, it'd be nice to make it to 50.
Yeah, of course. I don't think I could squat 50 kilograms.
I'm sure you could. Easy peasy.
This interesting conversation, just to jump over to a little bit, is the fact that you're a nice, tall, slim man. Nice, I don't know why that's in there, but you are a tall, slim man. You are nice as well, but you're a tall, slim man. And I think the general connotation, or that what people think is what will happen, is that they do all this heavy lifting, and all of a sudden they kind of bulk up and get big.
Well, that hasn't happened to me. But the only thing is, if you are slightly taller, you've got to lift them higher. So,
right.
Sure, for people to do better.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. That's really good common sense. Okay. So if you're under a certain height and take up powerlifting, and
you have an advantage.
You have an advantage. Okay.
Fighting gravity.
With the training, did you fueling and the types of things you're consuming to build strength, lots of protein?
Yeah. I have a very protein breakfast. I like to have creatine, which is great, and that's it really. They help a lot.
Okay, daily shakes, 1, 2, 3 a day. Or you?
No, I don't. I just have a lot of protein for breakfast.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And creatine follow it.
Right. Okay. So you don't shake. You don't do shakes.
Well, it is a shake. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's a shake for breakfast with protein, creatine, two raw eggs. And that's it.
That's pretty macho, raw eggs as well. Good. Okay, so part of the next challenge, we're going to, how are you going to look at raising more money for the church? Is there anything that sort of local people in Gloucestershire can get involved in?
Well, absolutely. I have now met the challenge, and if people like to donate, that will be absolutely wonderful. We've had, I think, well over 70 people have so far contributed, and it would be lovely to have some more. And it's easy to do. Just go to Just Giving and look for St. Peter's Framilode and part with your money.
Very good. Easy peasy. And we'll put a link in the description to this podcast as well. Okay, so look, we're going to bust some myths around
sort
of weightlifting.
That sounds a good idea.
And then we'll look at wrapping it up. Okay, so strength training. I think a lot of people will think either one, they can't do it, or it's dangerous.
We've never had an accident in 12 years, but our instructor is careful and is constantly saying, don't do it if you don't think you can. So that seems to be the safety element taken care of. We don't have lots of equipment, obviously, being in a church. We have some, which he brings, but that's it. And that seems to make it pretty safe. And I think, too, if you do get into powerlifting, the rules of powerlifting make it safe. The idea that you mustn't lift your body off the rack and so on, all these things all help to make it safe. And so far, I haven't managed to bust anything.
Good. I think, you have that confidence as well, right? So I think, this isn't foolproof by any stretch of the imagination, but, when the skill to lift things, in your day-to-day life, you mentioned paving slabs. Yes. I think, perhaps you would have been much more cautious about those things. You probably still are because they're heavy, but actually, that you can do that.
Yes, you do. And also you would tend to say, I'll get someone in to do this or get someone in to do that. Now, the other day, we've got long hedges around our garden, 70 meters of hedges. Been nice to have rung up a contractor and said, now I know I can actually do it. But holding a hedge cutter, heavy, got a lithium battery in it, it's chunky. It's quite heavy. But it's nice that you can do these things. It's really good.
And that counts as training as well, by the way.
Yeah, I suppose
it does. Yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, of course it does. Have you heard of, is it NEAT? Have you heard of NEAT?
No.
So non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Right.
So it's all of the energy that we burn through our day-to-day lives that isn't considered exercise. But I guess the fitter we are, the more we can do. I guess it's like a cycle of, there we go. We've got a whole podcast on NEAT at some point, I suppose. All right. And yeah, it all counts. It all counts.
Does it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We kind of did this one, but the bulking up thing, I think it's bulking up thing.
Okay, I haven't found it happen. If anything, I've lost fat around the waist.
Okay.
I'm not very bulky.
No,
in fact, I'm a bit on the skinny side. Perhaps I ought to bulk.
I think you'd make a good cyclist. You got strong legs, and
yeah.
But also, I think as well, there's a difference between weightlifting and powerlifting.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's
the weightlifters? I don't know much about weightlifting, but they certainly do eat an enormous amount and bulk up like that, and that's a very different way of proceeding. In powerlifting, you want to stay at your body weight. Mine's 74. You want to stay in that because that's a competition level.
Yeah.
I don't know how they work in weightlifting, but I do know that you hear stories of them eating steak for a week beforehand and so on.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. And I think okay. So then just tell me. So when you are training for the powerlifting, is it super intensive training sessions?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So you have to have that, or you build up to it, of course, but
I do sometimes take the pre-work stuff that you can buy.
Okay.
And that I find is pretty helpful.
Okay. So you're sort of jumping back a little bit here, but interested to know, training session, what does that look like? Is it an hour long?
Well, in the church, we're an hour and a half. And on a Thursday, we end up with a HIIT session, which goes, we go around 9 obstacles 3 times if we're feeling good.
Okay. And the power training sessions, so
power training sessions at the power gym, they build up much more gradually. So you're going to warm up on a bare bar, and then work your way up to your current favorite.
You say that with a slight hesitation.
Well, I'm just thinking of doing those squats again. But
you're going there tonight, aren't you?
Yeah,
there you are. Okay. What would you say to someone what's your kind of advice for people, beyond 55 that perhaps never done anything?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was doing an interview. There've been 5 as a result of all this publicity.
Brilliant.
And one of them, the interviewer was, she was from the Church of England Eco magazine. And we finished, and she said, "Can I just ask you what I should be doing?" Because she said, "I'm 61 and I had a spell in hospital and lost all my muscle."
Mm.
And she said, "I don't know what to do." I said, "Well, you've got to find a gym where you can be encouraged to become strong, not just fit. Please don't listen to all this stuff about 10-minute walking briskly, because it'll get you nowhere. You need to find a gym where they'll teach you how to become strong." And she said, "Right, that's what I'm going to do."
Did you mention Jim's Gym? Well, I get my own little plug in there.
It wasn't time to mention Jim's Gym.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, I have to. I somewhat disagree. I disagree with the brisk walking. I think that we have there is something for everybody, and we've got to try and get people on the path. And if brisk walking can be a part of someone's activity, maybe on your rest day, then or for some people, or brisk walk might be their day to get a bit of cardio. And if you are going up a hill, then whatever we do, and we spoke about this before the podcast, whatever we do, there's a little bit more than what we already do can be a positive. Yeah. But absolutely, I think you mentioned the strength.
Stop at that too.
No.
You've got to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you have, there are as well with the strength thing. I think with the powerlifting, you're talking about pre-functional exercises. The squat, the picking something up, bench press. Maybe functional, not really sure. Actually, saying that, I lie in bed and I throw my son in the air, right? I guess it is quite functional. Yeah. So, he's 21. No, he's not 21. He's 3. And so that is quite functional. But I guess when someone says we've got to get strong, my question is, strong for what? And I think with powerlifting, it's really nice. You've got functional exercises, which you do every day. But I think to help people, encourage people to do more, is trying to get people to understand that the exercises really do have a representation of the movements that they make in day, holding that strimmer above your.
But also, I think for people in care homes, there's a tremendous amount that can be done.
Yeah.
Patrick Ansley works in those in Cheltenham, and he's absolutely thrilled to bits when he gets a 93-year-old getting up out of her chair with no help. And then the next week he comes along and says, "Well, she got out of the chair holding a kilogram in each hand."
Exactly. And I think that goes down to the point, about the walking, is that, for a lot of people, they go, "Oh, getting out of a chair with 1 kilogram." Well, for a lot of people, that is a lot, right? And they're still building strength.
Yeah.
So, strength comes in so many different forms. And it's just about, it's about trying to get people. And again, for that person in the care home, it's really, really important, probably, I'm guessing, that she can get in and out of the chair.
Transformative.
Exactly.
Absolutely
So if we can catch on to these things that are going to have a real life, outcome or, dividend, or so to speak.
They can put the Zimmer on one side, then they've really they've arrived.
And what a way to and progress. Absolutely. Never too late. There we are. We'll come back
Never
to
too late.
All right. So look, short, little closer. I think we've covered a lot, but if they're, and we've already covered the one I think I know you're going to say, so you have to come up with a new one.
Okay.
One piece of advice, actionable advice to anybody, actionable advice, anything. I mean, presumably fitness related because it's inspiring movement, but
I think never too late is the thing, because people just go on and on and on, putting it on one side. No, you've got to make a start. It's really important to come to your gym. You don't even have to come to the gym if they've got an online gym, do they?
Oh, you did it. I'm so pleased. Jim's Gym.
Just, absolutely. Gus certainly comes to Jim's Gym. I have to say, it's the smartest gym I've ever been in.
It's not quite powerlifting. They don't have pink walls in the powerlifting gym, do they?
No. This is really smart. So if you can find a gym near you, or even come online, then that's great.
What I will say, and I'll add to that, and I think that it relates to the powerlifting, it relates to the church, it relates to Jim's Gym, is that in all three of those, it's about finding a group of people that share the same sort of goals. And I think the people that you enjoy training with, you enjoy the people that are teaching you.
Yeah.
And all of those things are kind of more important than the outcome of getting fitter, because without those things, you won't start either.
We have a great social side to our church one, particularly. There we are all doing some sort of exercise. What would it be? A plank. If you're doing a 3-minute plank, you need something to take your mind off it. And the conversation goes around the group. It's pretty idiotic, but it's great. And it keeps you going. And then you suddenly hear that the instructor says, 3 minutes is up. You think, wow, 3 minutes plank. That's hard.
Yes.
And then we do side planks and all sorts. But we also have a party every Christmas, going to a pub, and we choose the food carefully, and
raw eggs,
and we all go around the corner to the ship, and it's great.
Oh, fantastic! Well, and that is exactly what it's all about. Brilliant. Okay, now I've got one extra last question. Promise. Apart from the squats, favorite exercise?
Favorite exercise? Well, would you call deadlifting an exercise?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm best at. So I'll go for deadlift.
All right, fine. All right, brilliant. I'll leave it at that.
I'm 110 at the moment, max I've ever done.
I can't deadlift 110 kilos.
Yes, I'm sure.
No, I promise you I can't. No, I can't. I can't. So well done. Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on. And
well, thanks. It's been great fun.
Good. And hopefully we'll hear about when you do the 220, and we'll post a link to fundraising for the church team. All right. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, John.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back again in 2 weeks' time with our next incredible guest. In the meantime, don't forget to check out Jim's Gym at www.jimsgym.fitness, where you will find access or get access to 15 live classes every week. It's a fantastic place to get started with your fitness, especially for people who aren't all that keen on joining a traditional gym. Jim's Gym, can get fit from home. I'll see you next week.